Rita, welcome to the podcast. I'm so grateful to have you with us today.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
This is so exciting for a lot of reasons. I feel like a big part of our work intersects, and we're really passionate about helping women, I think moms in particular, working moms, learn how to not only manage stress, but really harness the power of their body and their nervous system to expand their capacity so they can show up really powerfully in all the spaces that they fill. And in our home, like this week, as we're recording live, we've been watching Artemis 2. And our whole family's like been glued to that. We live in Houston, so that's been really exciting. But my youngest daughter, she's 7. She was so like during breakfast today, I'm like, guess who I get to talk to today? A real life rocket scientist. And she's like, what? She was so jealous of me. But I would love for you to share just a little bit about your story, career, family, and then even just what you've learned along the way about yourself and managing stress and your identity and all of the things.
Sure. Wow, that's a big question. So my lifetime in 5 minutes. So I grew up in Naples, Italy. So in the south of Italy, very beautiful, warm, sunny city. And that's where I studied aerospace engineering. So I have to say it's not as glamorous as it sounds, in the sense that firstly, I was not the least passionate about it when I first started. Interestingly enough, I became more interested afterwards. But when I first started, it was a lot from society kind of pressure and expectation, right? And I'm sure so many people can relate to this. I was very good in school and I was always like the good student, wanted to make everyone happy, right? And because I was so good and everyone expecting me to do something really, really difficult. And obviously we are 18 years old and we expect to make a life choice and just go and pick one thing and do it for your lifetime. And so I picked aerospace engineering because it looked and sounded really, really exciting and cool. And it is, in many ways, it is. And I was lucky enough that I became more passionate about it as I was studying it, afterwards. But it wasn't, like I said, not as glamorous as one might, like I wasn't the type of kid I was like, I want to be an astronaut or I want to work at the European Space Agency. Like, no. I had no idea what that was. And then throughout my university, I had the opportunity to study abroad for a few months. I traveled quite a lot. I always put myself out there. I was the international contact member of a society of aerospace engineering students around Europe. So I traveled quite a lot with that. And then afterwards, I did my PhD in Bristol. So that's when I left Naples. And and I've been living in Bristol, UK since 2016. I did my PhD first. I had a moment of, it's not crisis, I say realignment after my PhD when I actually left everything. And in the meanwhile, I had become a yoga teacher and I had become a coach. So I had started to explore these, holistic practices and holistic tools that we have. They're so amazing and no one teaches. And I'm so upset that no one teaches, how to take care of ourselves. And we need to get to the point of burning out to find out. And it's crazy. So even throughout my PhD, I got almost to the point of burning out. It was very subtle and I didn't know what it was, but my brain was like completely foggy all the time. Like I couldn't think clearly anymore. I couldn't progress in my studies. And obviously because I wasn't feeling well in my body, then I wasn't showing up as, a leader, because when you do a PhD, you are the leader of your work and you don't have to have like leader in the job title to be one. Anything you do, you can do it with leadership. And so I couldn't show up as a self-led, a truly self-led woman. And so it was during my PhD that I found out these other practices and yoga, meditation, holistic living. And so afterwards, I had this moment of crisis where I was like, what am I doing? And, it was right after COVID or around the time of COVID. I was like, I feel like I wanted to explore something else. So I left engineering and I was only doing coaching and yoga At the time, I also broke up with my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband. So things worked out eventually. But so there was a lot of change going on at once. I left Bristol. I started to travel a bit more and just to explore other things and other sides of myself.
Yeah.
And the thing is, going down that path, then I started to slowly realize that I was missing something, because by embracing the side of me that I had neglected for so many years, I was once again leaving a part of me behind. And that's the engineer and the scientist and the person who is passionate about these things. So it was a very intentional choice then to go back to engineering. And well, I believe in the universe and the power of the universe, and it makes everything happen at the right time for the right reasons in the right way. And so once I opened myself up to the possibility of coming back to that world, I literally was inundated by so many job offers that I wasn't even looking for. And I applied for this one at ESA myself, but not even believing it. I was just like, let's give it a go. Let's see how it goes. And my background was not aligned with the role that the position that I got. So I didn't have the background that they were looking for. And they still invited me to the interview. During that interview, I was so honored to be there anyways, but because I didn't know a lot of those things and I knew that they didn't know, I had like no problem just showing up as myself
Mm.
and not even trying to make anything up. I was like, I know what I know, I don't know what I don't know, and it's fine. Sorry, I know what I don't know, and it's fine. And so during that interview as well, I said so many times they were asking me these technical questions, and I was like, I do not know that. I can learn. I have the skills to learn, but I do not know the answer to that right now. And yeah, we can talk and we can brainstorm. But so multiple times I said, I don't know, I don't know, to the point that I was sure that I did not get that job. I said, there's no way they're giving me the job. They're crazy if they do. So I just, I thought it was an amazing experience. And then I moved on with my life. But then, because I told them I had other offers at the same time, they actually called me back the next day and they were like, we want to give you the job. And I was like, you're joking. But not because I didn't believe in myself. I knew that I did, but I didn't think that they would,
Yeah.
want someone that didn't have that technical expertise that they were looking for, because it was a very specialized research position that they were looking for. So, anyways, yeah, that's where I am now. So, I started as a research fellow, and I now work as a component engineer, and I've been there for over 3 years now. Lots have happened since I've become a mom and a wife. Yeah, that's what brought me here.
Wow. Wow. So many parts of your story, I believe that people listening can relate to in bits and pieces. And then how you're a mom, but how old are your kids?
Well, I only have one kid. She's 10 months.
And she's 10 months. Okay.
And
So tell us a little bit about that transition because I'm curious to hear maybe even what you thought it might be like and then what it's actually been like.
yeah, so, well, I've always known that I wanted to be a mom one day. And so I knew that that was coming. And I I definitely had lots of preparation for the pregnancy and the birth. I had a home birth in water, beautiful, so spiritual, like was perfect. And it was so much preparation towards that and towards the immediate postpartum. So the immediate 6 weeks afterwards, I got, a private midwife and a doula, and I had family support. So I was perfectly set up. And those first 40 days, they almost felt like a vacation, to be honest, because I was, taking care of myself so much. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that the problems would come afterwards, meaning that obviously we live in a world where it doesn't really support us as moms. I don't think it does. I think lots of us travel quite young and we leave our homes, right? I'm living in England and my family is in Italy. I don't have any immediate family support here. So it means that, I need to hire someone to be with my daughter if I want to have like an hour to do something, right? Or if I'm working, I need to have a nanny, or she will have eventually to go to a nursery. And there is just so much to do, and there is an invisible load that comes with being a mom that I think I knew on some level, but I didn't know the extent of it. It's not only the baby, it's like it's the cleaning and the cooking and the planning. And as women, we're always planning and making sure that our families are, fed and organized and everything is set and the house is clean and and we're trying to balance everything and working at the same time and taking a shower and calling it self-care, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that there was so much load coming with becoming a mom. And that's the part I think that was most unexpected for me. I knew it on some level, but not the full extent of it. And obviously I love her. I love her so much. Like I love being a mom. But, I've had to go back to work after 5 months. And I know that in the US, it's even worse, right? But, for me, 5 months is nothing. It's like she was so tiny. And I had to leave her with a nanny because I had to go back to work. And then you're supposed to be functioning when you're still not sleeping at night, because I'm still not sleeping at night. I'm still having very interrupted sleeps. And you're supposed to be like functioning and basically doing 3 full-time jobs at the same time, if not
Yes.
more. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't think the world supports us as moms. I don't think the world truly understands what diversity means, and that the fact that our rights as men and women should be both valued and to be equal, it doesn't mean that we should be treated the same because we are different. We have just different responsibilities, different bodies, different needs. And I don't think the world fully understands that.
Yeah.
So it's been an intense journey, but I am loving it. It's just, yeah, I'm also a bit upset.
Yeah, yeah, there's a huge learning curve. And I think it's one of those things where intellectually or conceptually we can think that we know or we've prepared or we've understood. But I think until you're actually living it and experiencing it. And I think it's different even with different children, like the pregnancy can be different, the birthing, right? The baby's temperament and the whole dynamic can be different. So it's like we plan and then also come with a very open hand of what it is that we're going to be experiencing. So I feel you in all of that. I want to touch on something that you mentioned when you were talking about when you were like kind of flirting with burnout, and it was really hard for you to be, you said, a self-led woman. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that means to be self-led?
Self-led is something that I mention it all the time because I like to talk about self-leadership rather than only leadership. Because when we think of leadership, we think of a person that's leading others.
Mm-hmm.
And in self-leadership, we lead ourselves first.
Yeah.
So for me, a self-led woman is a woman that shows up in any situation, whether it's work or family, relationships, anything, from an inner point of authority rather than external expectation. So we show up fully with presence and with real authority, not like performed confidence where we're like, kind of pretending to be confident, but like with the real embodied authority in any situation. And when we are burnt out and we are living in that fight or flight mode, in that stress response, it is not possible. Like we cannot do that. It's just not physiological because our body has a different hormonal composition. So it's just not possible to be truly present and self-led if at the same time you are tired, stressed, burned out, anxious, and all of it.
Yeah. Okay. This is so good. So you guys listening, you hear me talk about that all of us are playing a game always. And it's one of two things. It's either an inside out game or an outside in game, right? It's like the things that I'm seeking are either things that I know that I can create within me to experience the life that I want. Or if we're playing an outside in game, we're just always looking for the thing that we need that's over there. If I only had that, if I only had this kind of partner, if I only had that car or that job or that house, then I would be able to be peaceful, happy, joyful, at ease, whatever it is that we're after. So to me, when you talk about being self-led, it's the learning to embody the authority as you describe it and understand that it's within us and how can we actually cultivate that and show up in that grounded presence. And I want to touch a little more on what you were referring to with the like performative confidence. Because I think so many of us do that. It's almost like an alter ego shows up at work or in spaces where we might feel overwhelmed or there's stress or there's a lot on our shoulders. I think sometimes I even show up that way at home. It's just like, I'm like, I have nothing left to give. So I'm just going to slap a smile on my face and, go downstairs. But I'd love to hear a little bit about one, even just like for the people listening, when we talk about performing, how that might show up. Cause I think it's probably a lot more subtle than we might even realize. And then also, how do we start to transition, like catch when we're actually performing and transition to this being like embodied and authentic and true for us?
Yeah, so I think it's very subtle in the sense that a lot of people don't even realize
Yes.
that they are, like you're saying, that we don't realize that we're performing confidence. We just think it's our standard and it's how we do things. And, if I have to give a presentation, I will put on my, presentation mask and I will go and give it. And yes, it's a facade, it's a mask. So performing, I think it feels like, first of all, if anything that we're saying resonates, it's probably ringing some bells. It's starting to resonate with you. You will start to recognize it more and more, right? It's in those moments where you don't feel fully settled and at ease, and you force yourself to maybe speak a little bit louder or maybe hide yourself, right? It's also in sometimes we hide. It's in all those moments where maybe we feel in our body that our chest is tightening or we're not breathing fully, and we're showing up from that state. That means if something is going on in your body, if you feel a tightening, or if you feel like you're starting to speak too fast or speak too loud, if you're not like calm, present, and able to respond in real time to what's happening, most likely you're on some level of performing, right? Because you're not being grounded and present, so you will be performing. I think in terms of recognizing it, because like I said, a lot of times we don't know that we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's about developing that awareness and just ability to observe yourself. You won't be able to do it overnight. I'm not telling you, tomorrow you'll be able to see it and change it immediately, but really awareness is the first step, because you can't change something that you don't see. As soon as you see that there is, you're, oh my gosh, here I'm not being myself. I'm like, I'm being very uncomfortable and like I'm speaking very loud, or like, I said this thing that I didn't mean to, or, you were in a meeting or a conversation and then you replay it in your mind for ages, all night. That means that you were performing. Because if you were truly present there, yes, you might feel in the moment like a surge and energy, something, but it won't feel like you're drained and replaying it afterwards and you have all these afterthoughts and the after spiral. So that's for me, one way that you can start to see it. Once you recognize that you're performing, then you'll be able to do something about it and to lead from a different place. And it's a journey, to the women that I coach, we use a framework that's called the Self-Led Woman Pyramid. And we can go through that in more detail, but essentially it's a process of removing. We will use tools, but the ultimate goal of the tools is not to add another mask to yourself. It's not to add another layer of personality. It's not to become louder or someone you're not, but it's to remove those masks so that your natural authority that's already within you can come out, and you can lead confidently in the world.
Yeah, it's the law of emergence, right? It's like she's in there. We just have to strip away everything that's been conditioned or, everything that she's taken on from society or all the rules, all the shoulds, so that she can emerge. I would love to hear a little bit more about the pyramid. And then I'd love to go through that. I think it would be helpful for the women listening. And then I also would love to go through like the 6 pillars that you teach and work through. And then maybe we can spend some time on some of those too.
We can do that almost at the same time because the pillars are kind of included in the pyramid. So one thing that I started to notice with all these leadership programs is that they all, again, add things to you, and they add more skills and more tools. But the way I see it, see, for example, I do the kind of parallel with engineering. If you have a system that's not working, it's not because the system doesn't know how to do its job. It's because there is some kind of fault, maybe in the materials, in the connections, in the building blocks, right? In the fundamentals. It's not because the system doesn't know what to do that it's not doing it. So in the same way, when we see high performing women that are not able to show up as leaders, it's not because they don't have those skills or the knowledge within them. I'm sure they do. We're all hyper prepared. We are so competent and capable, and yet we freeze and froze. What did I say? We freeze, we freeze and fly. So the thing is, it's in our bodies, right? It's in our body and our mind. And the way that we respond or react in any situation comes first from our body.
Yes.
It's us, right? We are our body. It's who we are. So you can't force yourself to be a leader or confident if you don't first work on the body and the mind. And so
100%.
before adding those layers of leadership, which we go through with the women I coach, we definitely add also, decision making and imposter syndrome. We go through all these things, but first we go to the body and the mind. So at the base of the pyramid, the very foundation is the body mind piece. And we have three main pillars for the body and three main pillars for the mind or nervous system regulation. So for the body, we have sleep, nutrition, movement. There are so many more things, right? But these are the building blocks. They are the main things that everyone should be doing their best with. And then for the nervous system, we have breath work, emotional regulation, and meditation. So let's go. Obviously, we could spend a whole hour talking about each one of them, but I'll try to go over them very, very simply and quickly. With nutrition, it's very simple. I always say do not overcomplicate it. Yes, there are so many things you can do. You could be biohacking, great. But the most important thing is that you get at each meal, or at least throughout the day, 1/3 of healthy carbohydrates, 1/3 healthy proteins, 1/3 healthy fiber, so vegetables and fruits. Add some olive oil or coconut oil or some amazing source of fat, and you're good. You're good. So, sometimes we overcomplicate things, but once you go to this is the most important thing. You can have a snack every once in a while. It's fine. 80%, the 80-20 rule, where you eat well 20%, 80% and allow yourself to be, a bit softer on that 20%. So that's about nutrition very quickly and simple. Again, we want to simplify to amplify. So go to the foundations first. Movement. The main thing that I teach is that it's better you move 10 minutes every day than 1 hour once a week. So the main thing that I teach is whatever it is, however it looks like, if you've been sitting for the whole day, try to go on a walk for 10 minutes. Try to go and do a 15-minute yoga flow or workout, anything, because sometimes we wait for that perfect hour to come to you and it will never come. Right? I have, obviously with a 10-month-old baby, I know that very well. And I can make the comparison, like my husband is always looking for the perfect 2 hours block to go to the gym. The result is that he never goes.
Yeah.
Whereas I try to fit in that, 15 minutes workout anywhere I can, and I will do something every single day. And I think that's better. So that's about movement, again, in a nutshell. And then sleep, my favorite thing, because I'm not getting much. But I used to be so good with sleep. I was like a champion, all the things I was doing. And the most important thing is that if you can, obviously, given your circumstances, aim for 8 hours a night. That's basics, everyone knows that. But also you need to optimize your sleep. So try to avoid electronics, blue light screens, any type of stimulation before going to sleep. Try to eat at least 2 or 3 hours before going to sleep. Try to go to sleep with an empty stomach so that you can go in that deep sleep, which is fully regenerative as much as possible. If you have trouble with sleep, like myself, because I have a baby, then the second best thing that you can do is the non-sleep deep rest, which is like deep restorative yoga nidra, guided meditations. It's not the same, but it will bring you to a deep restorative place. And so, maybe during the day you can give yourself 20 minutes, 30 minutes to do that if you haven't slept well, and it's better than nothing at all. So these are the main pillars, and let's go to the nervous system. So the first one I teach is breath work, and breath work is so important because it's the most immediate thing that we can do to change our state immediately. Like, it's at our disposal. Literally, we have it at our fingertips, and we can use it anytime, like before a presentation, after a meeting, when something upsets us. If we're simply looking for, to develop some focus or stability, breathwork is magic. Literally, you can use it, and in a minute from now, you can be a different person.
Yeah.
So it's the thing that switches our nervous system the most quickly. And it's the one that I use every day in different ways, but highly recommend. And then we have emotional regulation. And emotional regulation, I say it's useful to complete stress cycles, so that, say, after something has happened, you have a way to release that kind of residual emotions.
Mm-hmm.
There are many studies showing actually that an emotion only lasts for 90 seconds. And the reason why we carry it with us for so long is because we don't allow ourselves time to fully process it and release it. So whatever comes up, whether it's, you're afraid, you're anxious, you're anything, literally with any type of emotion, if you sit with it for 90 seconds and you close your eyes and observe yourself and pay attention to yourself, that emotional wave will go through in 90 seconds.
Yeah.
But if we ignore it and, we press it down and we distract ourselves and we start to binge watch Netflix or scroll on social media or distract ourselves, we will just, accumulate somewhere within us, one of the chakras, according to yoga. And it will keep affecting us in the long term rather than letting it go in 90 seconds. But the thing is, we don't do it because it can be a bit uncomfortable to let that emotion be and to witness it. And we'd rather just distract ourselves because it's too intense to, be in that emotion. So that's why we do it. If we are in a situation where we can't do it in that moment, right? If, say we have a meeting and something has happened that it's really upset us and we can't sit there and close our eyes and, process the emotion, then the best thing to do is to take some time afterwards to do that, or to journal about it. And that will help to really complete the stress cycle and to release the emotions that that you experienced earlier. And the last pillar that we go through is meditation, which for me actually should be the first one, because it's the one where I've started my personal development journey. And I think it's really transformed my life in so many ways. Meditation is one of those things that I was one of those people saying, I can't meditate, nothing happens. If I close my eyes, I can't find a space between my thoughts. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I was one of those saying, no, it's just not for me. I can't meditate. And I've been lucky enough to have found a particular type of meditation that works for me, which is transcendental meditation, which is a mantra-based meditation that I do twice a day. And I think if you're thinking meditation is not for me, just explore different types. It doesn't have to be transcendental meditation, it can be other types, but find what works for you rather than just giving up immediately. And meditation is the thing that will help you expand your capacity in the long term. So it's the thing that in the long term will allow you to have the most results, I think, at least in my experience. It also has immediate results, but then in the long term is the thing that really supports yourself and your expansion. So these are the pillars at the basis. And then once we have, regularized our nervous system and we are expanding our capacity and we can hold more, our mind starts to get clear, right? All these things. Then we can start to add the tools and, the strategies. It's not necessarily sequential, like you can do it obviously at the same time, but, it's, we need to first work with the body and your system that can then hold those skills and tools. And the top of the pyramid is being a self-led woman.
Hmm.
And that's actually a result of all the work of transformation. And it's something that comes removing and revealing rather than adding. So it's not a mask that you put on yourself and say, okay, I'm just going to be a self-led woman today. Yeah. No, it's a result of this work. So it's
Yeah.
not something, it's not a quick fix. It's a long-term, real, sustainable result.
Yes. Wow. It's so good. And I completely am on board with all of that. And I love the way that you put it in a pyramid and just prioritizing the foundation and getting that set. And then understanding that when that foundation, especially in the nervous system, is set, how it actually opens up the parts of our brain that we'll need to be able to learn the tools that you're teaching in the middle of the pyramid. Um, I would love, just out of curiosity, there's probably a lot of women who are listening who are like, I mean, we just know a lot of these, like we know we need to sleep well. We know we need to nourish our bodies well. We know we need to move. And it can be really, one, I think it can be overwhelming, like just the weight of having to do all these things. And it's hard to kind of fit it in our day. I know a lot of people are kind of like all or nothing. So to your point about the workouts, but I'd love to hear, as someone who's, working full time and has a 10-month-old, what does that usually look like for you? Like what does a day look like where you're able to, or maybe even a week?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I used to be like a queen, like I was doing all those things, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't fully understand why people were not doing them. I was like, why
Yeah.
don't you just do it? And then I became a mom and I understood.
Like,
It's
oh,
now I understand.
yeah.
Yeah, my routines used to be like 2 hours, and now if I have half an hour, I'm like so lucky, right? So these days, I will say every day is a little bit different because I've gone back to working at ISA on a part-time basis 3 times a week because of the things we've discussed, and society doesn't support us. So we found this compromise to be working well for us. On the days where I work at ISA, I will have a nanny come over. And so in the morning, I will first be with my daughter and play with her. And maybe I will start to do some yoga and movement while I'm with her. And then the first thing I do once I get the nanny is I go and meditate. And that usually includes just a little bit of stretching and breath work before. And again, I used to do, I don't know, like 30 minutes yoga, 5 minutes breath work, and 20 minutes meditation before. And now I'm just doing a little thing for my body, a little thing for my breath, and then I meditate. So I always go in layers, right? Yeah, I just stretch a little bit and then I do some pranayama and then I start to meditate, and that will take maybe 30 minutes overall. And I always do that even with a baby. Like there is no way that I'm skipping it. If I don't have time or way to do it as soon as I wake up, then I will do it as soon as my baby sleeps during her first nap. Yeah, and then I will go into my work day. Obviously, I will have some breakfast and I will go into my work day. And afterwards is where obviously I go back with my baby and have some quality time with her. We might go out for a walk. And if my husband is at home and we can kind of split responsibilities, maybe I will put in I will fit in a little workout. Again, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. And I don't do this every day, right? It might be like 3 times a week or 2 times a week. And this is the days I have a nanny. Otherwise, mostly I'm with my daughter. And again, I basically fit things here and there when she sleeps. And
Yeah.
usually I have, while she has her longer naps, is where I can devote myself to coaching and to do the things more related to my business. So yeah, that happens usually the evenings between 7 or 8 p.m. or while she sleeps. And every day is different these days. I used to be so like predictable and, like everything routines, morning routine, evening routine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every day is different. And I'm like, how can I optimize the little time that I have? So if I have 50 minutes, what do I need most right now? So I tune in and I optimize their time as much as possible. And yeah, it's not perfect. Our lives are messy. So I think it's just a choice of choosing to prioritize yourself, even when the house looks a mess, even when there are 1,000 open tasks, even when there is so much work to do. But if you had the little time, can you prioritize yourself so that you will create so much more time afterwards?
Yeah.
Because when you take the time for yourself, you are in a much more stable mental space. You have a lot more capacity and you can just hold so much more and do things more effectively and efficiently,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's always an investment for your future self, I think.
Yeah. And I just love the permission in that, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be messy. It can be different every day. Some days, you might get started and 5 minutes in, she wakes up and it's like, all right, that's all we got in this moment. And then tomorrow you try again. But to just continually show up and do what you can when you can without all of this pressure to do it perfectly or in the
Yeah.
consistent routine. I think just that is such a key to sustainability. Super helpful. Thank you for sharing all of that. I would love if you shared for the people listening who are more curious about you and your work and your programs where they can find more about it and learn more about you.
Sure. So one thing that I can do is firstly, I can send you a link to a free guided practice that they can experience.
Awesome.
Um, and if anything resonated in this conversation, it's a 15-minute guided practice where we use all the tools together. So we have breath work and meditation, somatic practice, we have journaling prompts. So it's a contained practice that is really designed to bring you home to yourself in those days where you got away from yourself. So in those days where, they're most chaotic and you're taken by 1,000 different things, that's when you need those 15 minutes. Again, there is a thing that I actually borrowed from a yogi, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he used to say, you have to pull the arrow back so that it can go forward. You can't just, launch the arrow. Like you need to pull it back first. And so
Yeah.
you will need to just go within first to be able to be efficient and do more and achieve more. So this practice is designed to give you that break to come back home to yourself in those days. That's the first thing. And then they can come over either on Instagram or LinkedIn. On Instagram, I am _ Rita Palumbo, and LinkedIn Rita Palumbo. And I'd love to hear from you what you got out of this conversation. And they can find more about my programs and coaching with me and all of that.
Amazing. Thank you. And we'll link that 15-minute practice for you guys in the show notes so you can check it out. But that sounds like a great way to get started if any of this is new or you're curious about it or just looking for a good 15-minute place to start. We'll link that and make it easy for you. Well, thank you again for making the time to be with us, to share your wisdom and pour into us. It was such a joy to have you.
Thank you, Michelle. It was a joy for me to be here. Hi. I hope this practice gave you exactly what you needed today. If you want to go deeper, I have something for you. It's called The Return, and it's a free 15-minute guided experience combining breathwork, body scan, meditation, all the things. It's for the days when you've given everything to everyone and there is very little left for you. This is just 15 minutes that will bring you back to yourself. You will find the link in the description below. And if this practice resonated with you, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It is the simplest way to help this work reach more women who need it, and it would mean the world to me. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in our next practice.